Now, what causes you to choose to run for the Georgia legislature?
Well, the legislature was reapportioned and these new seats were created with no incumbents. So whoever ran would be running for an open seat. And I had a friend, Ben Brown, who was in an adjacent district who was running for the state house. And he said, Bond, you need to run for this. You live in this open district. And I said, oh. And he urged me and urged me and urged me. And finally, I agreed to do it. And I have to tell you, I wasn't sure if I was a Democrat or a Republican. I think he said, would you rather belong to the party that Barry Goldwater heads, or would you want to belong to the party that Lyndon Johnson has? I said, oh, Johnson, by sure. So that's how I aligned myself with the Democrat. I had voted for Kennedy in '60 because in Georgia you could vote at 18 then. You know, no other state in the union you could vote at 18. But I'd cast my first vote for John F. Kennedy. But Democrats, Republicans, it wasn't a big deal with me then.
You didn't have any models of politicians, of people who had served elective office, did you?
Well, they had remote models. Adam Clayton Powell,
sure,
a tiny 2-3 other black members of Congress, but most of them were machine people. Dawson from Chicago, Nix from Philadelphia. These are machine politicians,
sure.
And they were, I won't say they were useless because that's not true, but they were creatures of machines and weren't independent actors or thinkers. Powell was, but Powell had this kind of flamboyance and so on. It was a little off-putting for, I think, those of us in the South. And as he got older, he became, he was grasping for a place in the movement that had really passed him by, and he became a less and less appealing figure. So I had these remote models of people who ran for office. And in Atlanta, there was a guy on the city council, Q.V. Williamson, real estate guy, who was celebrated as the first. Dr. Clement, the president of Atlanta University, was on the school board. He's the first black person elected to the school board in Atlanta many years before the 60s. But he was a kind of austere figure, remote figure. So I didn't have it. No, I had no models anywhere close to my age or our ages, because Ben and I are the same age. We're 25 years old then, and I didn't know any black person anywhere, or white person for that matter, who'd been elected to public office at 25. There probably were some, but I didn't know any.
Sure. So here you are. You have a young family. Mm-hmm. You have, I guess, given up your job at the Atlanta Inquirer, mm-hmm. which was, by all accounts, a logical direction for you to take because you were good with language and you liked to write and you were a good writer. So you give all that up to, I mean, this seems to me to, at the time, to have been an enormous risk in terms of the resources that you'd have to come up with to run and the likelihood of success. What made you take that kind of risk?
Well, the resources required, at least in today's terms, were relatively minimal. I don't think I spent more than a few $100s on this. I think $500 to qualify, which I borrowed from my father, and borrowed means he gave it to me. Mm-hmm. And then maybe a couple of $1,000s to run. And now people spend $100,000 to run for the Georgia State Senate or State House, but I don't think I spend more than $3,000 or $4,000 on the whole race. But back to the writing real quick. At the paper, I wrote everything. I wrote advice to the lovelorn. I wrote the letters and I wrote the answers.
Oh, you can share that
yes.
with Dear Abby.
Yes, it was like Dear Abby. Dear Abby, my boyfriend doesn't like me, and so I read, oh, Dear Mary. So I wrote that. I ghost wrote a column for Lonnie King called Let Freedom Ring by Lonnie King, and I wrote news stories too. But yes, I gave that up. And I don't know, I didn't think it was a risk. I thought we could win because we were in SNCC. We were superb organizers. And all political campaigns are organizing efforts. You organize the voters, turn them out, and we could do, that's what we did. Or that's what we did to demonstrate. You get the people, find out who can do it, who will do it, get them together, say something to them, there they are. So we knew we could do that. And I knew I could call on this cadre of workers. So when SNCC people would come to Atlanta for the weekend, they would spend a day canvassing with me. And I don't think anyone had ever run a campaign in Atlanta of the kind that's standard all over the country, door knocking, precincts, walking, doorbell ringing, the way we did. And we won.
Your father is on record as saying he wanted all of his children to be college presidents. I think he said that in some interview.
It'll never happen.
And, no, and here you are at age 25 or so,
School dropout,
having
college
dropped
dropout.
out of college, gone into political organizing, now running for political office. Was this something that he supported when you did this?
Yes, I think supported, was disappointed at it, but supported it. You know, I'd gone another way, didn't want me to drop out of school. But, you know, my parents were always very supportive. He gave me the money to qualify for office. You know, did some lightweight campaigning for me. And I think rallied his friends and others who lived in the district to vote for me. So they're always very, very supportive, but I'm sure it was a disappointment.
But so you never felt that this was a path you better not dare go down?
No, no,
I mean,
not at all.
Everything was really open to you then.
Yes, yeah, all possibilities were open.
Right, which is, I think, pretty unusual.
It is unusual. I'm sure there are things I could have done that he would have said no, but I wasn't going to do those things. I wasn't interested in those things.